Did Disney CEO Bob Iger just go onto CNBC and slam MSNBC and CNN? That's the question we're all now asking, as it appears Bob is saying that Disney will not lob their cable channels off to some other company and leave them out in the wilderness. Yet that's exactly what has happened to CNN and MSNBC. We'll explain, folks, and whether or not Disney is taking a victory lap over Comcast and Warner Brothers. Hang tight, it's a video you don't want to miss. Hello, folks, and welcome back. We are coming to you from a studio in somewhere sunny USA where the sun is always shining every time you come our way. As we get ready to get started, click that like button, subscribe if you wish, and folks, drop a comment down below. Let's dive into the Daily Dish when it comes to Disney and what Bob Iger had to say about his fiercest competitors. Folks, we've got a CNBC interview with Bobo, and this one is of great interest because hidden away from what many would be able to see, we have found a significant slam from Bob Iger at companies like Comcast and Warner Brothers Discovery. I can't wait to bring it to you. We'll play the first part of it, and then we're going to get into where Bob Iger really takes it to the competitors. Here is your Disney CEO, the man of the hippos, Bob Big Bobby Iger.
Of course, Disney CEO. Good to have you back on, Bob. You know,
Jonas, is the audio working this time?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Hey, go StreamYard, go.
$438 million is a lot less than many of your shareholders were at least concerned. I don't know if you were concerned that you'd have to pay. And I'm curious, was that the case? Did you have more money earmarked potentially? And if so, does it give you an opportunity to spend it elsewhere?
Well, let me start, David, by saying that this is a business, our streaming business, that lost $5 billion in the year prior to my coming back. And we're going...
This dirty dog, man.
Wow. Blame Chapek.
Man.
Amazing.
Chapek was there for 1 year. He didn't even have a chance.
11 months.
Bob Iger hits the budget and then comes back after a year and says, hey, screw you, dude. That budget I gave you.
That's how he starts. It's just by slamming the guy.
Everything got greenlit under this silly human's watch. I don't know what he's talking about. The entire launch of this. What a tool.
Culture, come on. Wouldn't you love it if your neighbor, charged $100,000 to your credit card, and then the next year when you're like, man, I need some money. I got to go to McDonald's. I'm broke. I don't know why. And he's like, yeah, because you don't know how to handle your money very well, you idiot. This is what he's doing to Chapek.
Man,
that's brutal.
Andre, let me get you in just a second. What Bob Iger is talking about is the Hulu deal. They're very, very happy about the Hulu deal. And we got to congratulate them. This is one of those rare Disney legal wins where they were thinking they were going to pay more. We were thinking they were going to pay more. They ended up paying way, way less. Comcast cannot be happy. And Bob Iger is taking a victory lap. We'll play just a little bit more of this because there's something bigger here, folks, I want to get to. And we'll get Andre's thoughts on this next clip right now.
Going to earn over $1 billion this year. So I say, sorry, $4 billion in the year prior to my coming back. We're going to earn over $1 billion this year.
Okay, pause there. Andre, what he does is he says we lost $4 billion when my guy Bob Chapek was there. Then he does a switcheroo that you can't really tell unless you just know to parse out Bob's words, which is he doesn't go from a loss to a profit. He goes from a loss to earn. Earn is not profit. This man is a genius in PR spin.
Well, he knows he's in a friendly crowd. They're not going to call him out. That's what I would really like to see, is him being called out on his bullshit to his face. Someone saying, you say you're going to earn, but how much have you earned after you take away the expenses, all the money that you blew and all of the Disney Plus products that no one watched? How much have you earned after that? Same thing with this Hulu deal. How much have you earned once you factor in how much you've paid in total? Yeah, fine. I agree. It's actually a rare win that they didn't have to pay more than they ended up paying. But how many billions have they paid already? Didn't they pay like 8 billion or something like that already?
Go ahead, Jonas.
I think the consolidated operating loss is $11 billion if I remember Forbes reporting on it.
And then two,
Yeah.
add in the Disney Plus costs and you add in the ESPN costs. And I mean, we're not talking about 20, we're not talking about $30 billion invested into streaming. We're talking about deep, deep, deep in a hole that would blow the minds of investors if any article out there would actually cover it.
What they really need to cover is Hulu in particular, because Hulu is something they didn't even plan on. With Disney Plus and stuff like that, that was planned. Hulu, that was unplanned. That was something that came as an accident by them buying Fox.
Andre, that's the reason it's the only thing working. Disney Plus loses money. ESPN loses money. They planned those. The one darn thing they didn't plan, it actually works. How about that?
Yeah, impressive. But still, they had to pay so much money for that. It's going to take, 20 years to make that money back again. This is the thing that annoys me.
Restaurant, yeah.
Yeah, that basically here you have already written off like God knows how many billions. Well, that doesn't mean that it's suddenly all sweet profits from there. No, you have a total negative cost associated with Hulu. That means it's going to take, I don't know, maybe decades for Hulu to net be green. When you look at the entirety of the investment culture, you look like you have something you want to chime into that.
I just want to add to what you're saying because Tom said it already. They eliminated 6 other very wonderful streams of revenue because they basically shut out all of their network television and everything, all of their opportunities to get money out of the consumer in favor of one thing. They've streamlined their revenue down into their own oblivion at this time. Streaming's not, I don't care what anybody says, streaming's not a way to make back all of the money that you lost by eliminating physical media or all of these other revenue streams that you had, releasing television shows on DVD and Blu-ray, releasing films on DVD and Blu-ray, not to mention the digital pathways and everything else, not selling your material to other entities. Also, the license to use it for a period of time also nets you a huge chunk of revenue. They've literally, Disney eliminated, again, 6, 7 other streams. Tom talks about it all the time. We've talked about it on Midnight's Edge 1,000 times, Andre. I just don't see what the benefit was of cutting your legs off completely so that you could crawl around all the time. And that's what all of these media companies did. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. So I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to where Bob Iger says that the other companies are very, very wrong. This is, I think, the secret that has not gained traction anywhere yet, but it should. Folks, I'm going to explain in just a moment why Bob Iger is slamming CNN and MSNBC, and it may be the reason we can see Bob Iger going to The View and saying, you got to tone it down. Why Bob Iger has fired the big superstar ABC News anchor. Here's what Bob Iger had to say about CNN and MSNBC without saying their names. Ready? Here we go.
Global brand as part of the Disney Plus offering. And then in addition to that, we've got ESPN coming with a direct-to-consumer product toward the end of this year and at the end of this fiscal year. And obviously, when we do that, we'll put out a great bundle for the consumer, which will enable the consumer to buy all 3 and have a seamless experience between Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN.
Right, as well. Listen, there's been plenty of other news, not necessarily related to Disney. Yesterday, though, Warner Brothers Discovery announcing it will split its company. It's not long ago, of course, Comcast also splitting off its cable networks, including our own, into a new company called...
Now, let me explain what this really is, folks. These companies, Comcast and Warner Brothers Discovery, they are, quote unquote, spinning off new companies that control the cable channels. By far the biggest viewership, although it's still not impressive, goes to MSNBC and CNN, respectively, of the two companies spinning these off. So Comcast getting rid of MSNBC and Warner Brothers Discovery getting rid of CNN, spinning them off, quote unquote. And there may be some disagreement on the panel about whether or not I'm accurately relaying that. We'll have that discussion in a moment. But just know that they are kicking those channels out. Bob Iger is going to give a response now about what he thinks Disney is going to do with their cable channels, okay? Just to parse out what this is that's being discussed.
Versant. You and I sat down almost 2 years ago now in Sun Valley, where you'd indicated certainly you were looking closely at the possibility of divesting some of what you called non-core, but were some of your cable networks. You chose not to, Bob. It's a different direction than Warner Brothers has gone in or Comcast has gone in, and I'm curious as to why.
Well, you're right, David. 2 years ago, soon after I returned to Disney, I put everything on the table and asked the team to evaluate, one, whether we should buy Hulu or whether we should sell Hulu, whether we should sell our linear television networks or whether we should hold on to them. And after a pretty lengthy process internally and really taking a long look at what these properties could mean to us long term, we decided that the best course for us to take was to not only hold on to Hulu and buy it in its entirety, but also to hold on to the linear television networks and to integrate them seamlessly with our streaming business. Because what that has enabled us to do is, one, aggregate revenue, both on the sub fee side and on the advertising side. There is still enough linear television subscribers to generate a significant amount of revenue in both cases.
We're going to pause there, and on the perfect frame freeze right there, Jonas, Bob Iger is basically saying that their cable channels make money and these other companies don't. That's the essence of what he's saying. So that's why the strategies are different. That is a slam on MSNBC and CNN, and I think it's rightfully so. I hesitate to agree with Bob, but unlike him right now, my eyes are wide open. And I got to say, I think that Disney is trying to keep their stuff like ABC from turning into what he's seen happen to Warner Brothers and Comcast stuff, which is hyper-partisan politicization that destroys viewership.
I don't know that I don't know that he's necessarily eschewing the other business models, but I know that Bob Iger is trapped at this point. I don't think he has any other option after they've spent so much money to secure the NCAA for so long and to secure the NBA for as long as they have. I think this is a matter of they've already sunk all of these costs into it, and they cannot let go of cable. They're also probably the only reason that cable continues to exist, other than the people who will never leave cable.
Other than Fox
that's just
News,
what they're used to.
We got to bring up Fox News there and say Fox News, and I'm not trying to promote Fox News, but they have 29 of the top 30 cable channel or cable shows in terms of ratings. Jonas, this is interesting though, because I'm here trying to agree with Bob. I'm here trying to say Bob's got it right, and you say no, Bob's trapped. Explain to the folks out there, how is Bob trapped and has to go with a different route than these other companies?
Well, because he has to keep ESPN profitable for as long as possible. And the place where it's profitable is on cable, and which is why they're talking about a $30 for now streaming service on ESPN flagship, just like Disney Plus used to be like $3 a month when they first started Disney Plus. They need all of those cable subscribers to make the transition over to streaming before they abandon cable. I'm not saying they're going to abandon cable. They'll probably be the last ones to do it. I would have assumed that CBS would have been the last one to abandon cable, but Warner Brothers. Wait, which one is that one? That's Paramount. I would assume that Paramount would have been the last ones to do it, and maybe they will be. When we look at this, they need ESPN to switch from being $10 a month subsidized by everyone, probably more than that, honestly, on cable bundles, to find out just how much they can push this with a $30, $40, or $50 a month streaming service over on the streaming side. They need to hold on to both sides of this for as long as possible.
And I think he's trapped in multiple ways on that point there, Jonas. I think they also need to carry this on, or their linear network TV business. It needs to be incorporated within this company as long as it can be, because, well, remember when they bought 20th Century Fox, when they bought the portion of Fox that they hold now, remember that was for what, $70 billion or so, and as we found out in the Nelson Peltz white papers, that 60% of that was basically linear TV assets. So you can't say, well, linear TV networks, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. When you just bought, even 5-6 years ago, for $70 billion, 60% of a company that was made up of just linear. And I think that's a real problem that they at least Bob Iger anyway faces with that, because they have $40 billion of debt on the books right now from their acquisition, and they're still, I think, making interest payments on that, but they haven't necessarily been paying that down. So you can't come out and say, well, linear networks, we just don't see the value in them, when you just made an acquisition for linear networks itself.
Culture, I can tell you're biting at the chomp, you're chomping at the bit, you're just ready to go with your intellect and wit. Is Bob Iger stuck? Is he stuck, or am I right that he's slamming these other? Maybe you think Iger likes Zaslav, or do you think he's enjoying this moment right now?
Well, I don't know that he dislikes or likes Zaslav. I think that he is stuck. I think Jonas's analysis is spot on. I think that he kind of has to justify all of the things that he's done and the direction that he's taken every element of his media company. He's going to have a harder time doing that with the destruction of the theme park business that he's supposed to be expanding upon. But that's a conversation for another day, as that goes down in flames very soon. But I think that he has to try to find value in this company and present value to customers that are going to encourage them to overspend on sports packages and things like that. I don't think this flagship streaming service for ESPN is going to be a winner. I think it's going to be an add-on or an extra for a lot of people who aren't going to be able to, catch something on cable or whatnot. I have a problem with all of the money that's spent in sports rights, and I knew that was eventually going to catch up with every media company. And I don't think they're going to be able to compete in the next round for everything that they want against the tech companies that can do the streaming thing so much better than they can. So, I think the expansion of sports at Amazon, maybe over at Apple TV, I think that's more likely. I think Netflix has already put its feet in the water as far as sports broadcasting goes, and I think that they're going to continue to expand on that. So, yeah, he's stuck. He's got to play the defender of all of his silly decisions. And
they're his decisions too, because even though he wants to throw Bob Chapek under the bus, remember, folks, that acquisition of Fox and everything like that was Bob Iger, not Bob Chapek. So
and look, I mean, what was that? Did we finally realize that was $72 billion? What did we end up paying for that? And
that's thereabouts, but it was way too overvalued.
It was twice.
And don't forget, that is what triggered the Hulu deals. You can add all the billions that came directly from that on top of it, and then you can ask, was it worth it?
Right.
Well, and look, they haven't come knocking at his door yet, but they will for his $36.4 billion in debt, long-term debt anyway. I mean, they're sitting on a debt that they've been slow to retiring, down from 42 recently. But I look at these numbers, and I know Jonas does too. And if Valiant were here, I'm sure he'd be bouncing off some numbers. But I'm going to tell you that, you can't do what they're doing and not find your way to Warner Brothers Discovery junk level. And my argument is this company's overvalued in the market. Not that I'm giving any kind of stock market advice. Never listen to a YouTuber on what to do with your money, especially not Jim Cramer. But this is probably one of the most overvalued media companies out there in the world, and they have been for a long time. Especially if you listen to what Andre talks about or anybody else here that speaks in these circles. It's just I don't see the upside for owning Disney right now, because every single trend entertainment wise across the board in all of their empires is headed downward, and especially sports. NBA audience viewership has been falling for some time, and spending more and more money for that was a huge mistake. ESPN, maybe he was right to hang on to, but I have the same argument as the CNBC commentator when I say, why aren't you splitting off these quote unquote linear networks that aren't profitable? Why aren't you doing what Comcast, Universal's doing? Why aren't you doing what Warner Brothers doing? Why aren't you going out and finding the value there and retiring debt and return to somewhat of an exciting and profitable company that you should be? I'm not saying they're not profitable. I'm just saying they have an awful lot of debt.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, okay, so Disney sets itself apart by its synergistic flywheel, right? Well, they haven't really capitalized on that or been able to really incorporate all that synergistic aspect with those linear assets. So to Coulter's point, what really sets you apart from something like Warner Brothers Discovery or even a CNBC, being spun off, and we know what MSNBC is also being spun off right there. What really sets you apart? Because you can't really leverage these assets in a way like creating merchandise or infusing this stuff into the parks. That doesn't really make any sense. So where do we really go from here? I think, this incorporation of these linear network assets into streaming, if that's the goal right there, I don't really see that really being able to be capitalized by the Walt Disney Company, especially with their advertising platform, which, by the way, isn't all that great. At least when you go into Hulu or Disney Plus, I have problems with ads all the time. So there's problems there as well.
Well, to that end, and just in response to what you're saying, I'm saying we don't see Disney crossover with ESPN anymore. You don't see that as you used to. It's not in the parks. It's not in the merchandise. Disney Sports used to be a big deal. That used to be something that collected. Like I have a bunch of golf shirts with Mickey Golf and Goofy golfing and stuff like that. Not Goofy golfing, but Goofy the character golfing and things like that. What we aren't seeing that anymore. The quote unquote synergy and all the stuff that they used to sell everybody on the Disney difference. Well, a lot of those things and tie-ins, which may not have generated huge profits, aren't being done anymore. Wide World of Sports is underutilized, except for cheerleader events or whatnot. I mean, yeah, exactly.
American Idol and that whole stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they pulled all their crossover stuff out of their parks. You're disabling your flywheel. I would actually say that they've been disassembling their flywheel in all aspects of their business for 15 years, maybe 20. It's been a downward slide, and it's been much to their detriment.
Well, folks, we're going to keep an eye on this. Panel, any other thoughts before we go? If not, we will continue on. But ladies and gentlemen, the spinning off of cable channels, except for Disney, is something to keep an eye on, and we will do just that for you. Cable is in a very bizarre place. More on that in just a few, but we'll continue to trace along with Disney and their strategy for how they handle streaming versus cable. Pulling Hollyweird to the sensible center, the mainstream middle where money is made, is not easy, but folks, you make it easy to make videos each and every day, because sharing time with you is a great honor, and we never take it lightly. An attitude of gratitude every single time we have the chance to shine with you. Until the next time, we only ask that you click that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, don't worry about paying any kind of tuition for this free class and how entertainment works. You are on scholarship. Highest IQ on the internet. That's you for sure. Until the next time we have the opportunity to spend time together, folks, we just ask that you keep learning, keep growing, and as ever, keep having fun.
Hey, Floral, guess what?
You put a fork in Pro's microwave again.
No, that was yesterday.
I don't know that what.
Oh, I've decided to give up on torturing Jonas.
What? Why? In the same way the cat sleeps like 20 hours a day, that was like your purpose.
I know, but I've decided there's bigger fish to fry.
Okay.
Like Lorne. I mean, think about it. Everybody loves him. He's a fan favorite, and frankly, he has almost no weaknesses I can find. Except that he's really smart.
So, you want to annoy the one panelist without a single flaw, because he's smart.
Yeah, like that winged statue at that fancy Paris museum thingy. I want to break the one thing that everyone loves most.
Right. So, kind of like the opposite of Rachel Zegler.
Yeah, exactly. And I get to see her all the time at family reunions anyway.
You get to see Rachel Zegler?
Yeah. I mean, she's a total troll. Lives under a bridge, harasses billy goats, the whole 9 yards.
It all makes sense now.
Speaking of which, maybe she'll get me... call her on my... I'm gonna call her and see if she'll be in the next Indiana Jones. She should be the next Indiana Jones. That'll totally destroy Lord. He loves Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's cruel.
Hey, Rach. I've got a cool idea for you that involves a whip and snakes.
I love that description. It's perfect.
I know, right? Weird, as we always say.